So as we were discussing, greetings to you all. This is part two. And the last thing we were talking about was biological immortality. And as we can see here, biological immortality is a state in which the rate of mortality from censusing is stable or decreasing, thus decoupling it from chronological age. Various unicellular, i.e. prokaryotes, and multicellular species, i.e. eukaryotes, including some vertebrates, achieve this state either throughout their existence or after living long enough. A biological immortal living being can still die from means other than censusing, such as through injury, poison, disease, predation, lack of available resources, or a change in environment. When they speak about biological immortality, of course, falls under the discussion of biology. All right. It falls under discussion of biology because we know in order to achieve biological immortality in the sense of what we call immortality, let's go there. Immortality is the concept of indefinite eternal existence even after death. Some species possess biological immortality. So if you're thinking about some type of infinity, existence in some type of state of infinity or immortality, then you must remove the abstract and perceive that understanding from a concrete. We know that concrete is based off, as we see here, biological immortality, because we know biologically you are composed of what we call cells. All right. Cells receive information as well through the somatic nervous system, which I spoke about in part one. All right. Somatic nervous system. All right. And it says that under the guise of the somatic nervous system, the brain is able to receive information based off the surface sensory that we have, such as taste, touch, smell, and sight, which through transduction, we are able to interpret what is received by the information that is excitable through the cells. And we know cells contain nucleuses, but contains the genome or DNA. We know our DNA denotes to our genetic material that allows us to become who we are. Okay. All right. So immortality, and it also says that some scientists, futurists, and philosophers have theorized about this immortality of the human body, but some suggest that human immortality may be achieved in the first few decades of the 21st century with the help of certain technologies such as mind uploading or digital immortality. Mind uploading or digital immortality. All right, that's very important because that goes into what we call memory. That's a faculty of the mind. It's not a faculty of the brain. It's not a faculty of the eyes. It's a faculty of the mind. All right, because whatever the eyes see, or whatever other sensory surface sensory that you use to interpret what is through transduction, and transduction means to make sense of the information that's coming from the environment to you and to you to the environment. Okay. All right. And so that means that biological immortality, in order to achieve immortality, we must understand what biology is. Right here. We deal with cells. Cell biology or cell theory states that cells are fundamental units of life, that all living things are composed of one or more cells, i.e. unicellular or multicellular, and that all cells arise from pre-existing cells through cells division. All right. That goes back to what we call cell lineage. All right. Cell lineage. All right. There are generally two types of cells: eukaryotic cells, which contains the nucleus, and the prokaryotic cell, which do not. Prokaryotics are single cell organisms such as bacteria or archaea, which are the two of the most dominant germs that were here on this planet before we even came upon the scene. whereas eukaryotes can be single cellular or multicellular. In multicellular organisms, every cell in organism body is derived ultimately from a single cell and is fertilized in a fertilized egg. Okay, so they're talking about the sperm. All right, because the egg is what they call the embryo. All right, or we call the zygote. All right, so from there we go to just revisiting things we talked about in the last lecture before I move forward. We know that through the sensory neurons, which is what we call somatic neurological system. All right, sensory neurons are receptors, also known as afferent neurons, are neurons in the nervous system that convert a specific type of stimulus via their receptors into actions, potentials, or graded receptor potential. These processes called sensory transduction. Okay, and transduction is the ability to make sense of what it is that you're receiving from those signals. In lieu of what we call biological immortality. In physics, transduction is the translation of arriving stimulus into an action potential by a sensory receptor. It begins with the stimulus change in the membrane potential of the receptor cell. As we can see, the signal comes from the sun. All right. We know the signal comes from the sun, and we receive the signals through our surface sensories, as they call our somatic nervous system, and through transduction, be able to process that information for us to take action. All right. So we know that the somatic nervous system nervous system is the part of the peripheral nervous system associated with the voluntary control of muscles, movements via skeletal muscle. All right. So this gives us the ability to be able to be mobile. Okay. The information that we receive internally allow us to outwardly, like I said, be able to use the attributes of the mind. Okay, to use the attributes of the mind, because the mind is supposed to be instructing the brain receives information from the mind through the what we call somatic nervous system, which receive impulses by way of the neurons that they receive within the cell. And we know the cell is composed of the nucleus that contains the genome that tells us how to move from unicellular to multicellular. All right, meaning to change the mitosis. All right, to come into be able to quantify within ourselves. All right, we must understand that. But this whole discussion is about receiving immortality. All right, this is a mental faculty, receiving immortality, because biology deals with cells deals with the fundamental units of life that are living things and are composed of one or more cells that all cells derived from pre-existing cells through a division. So you must check that cell lineage. This brings us here. Cell lineage denotes the development of history of the tissue of organ from the fertilized embryo. All right. This is the base of the tracking of the organism's cellular ancestry due to the cell division and relocation as time progresses. This starts with an originator cell and finishes with the mature cell that can no longer divide. That's human beings. All right. We can no longer divide on a cellular level or a biological level. We're at its max. We're then tapped out. Okay. All right, now you start to what they call damaged DNA, because now you start the process of reverting back to your original state. Okay, you start to transform or transmute or mutate or mitose into your original state, and that comes to not just the progress within the cell, but the understanding of what's going on within the progress itself, because it all deals with you, the self. You're just experiencing the changes of the self. But the experiences of the change of self, and I understand the change of self, can be detrimental to the self. All right, because it does not give the ability to what we call self-rejuvenate. That's what RNA is for within your mitochondrial DNA. So memory is everything, because we know mind as defined in etymology, in etymology, or the origin of the word means memory. The original meaning on English and whatever language that you speak or whatever uh, uh, language you choose to make sense of in regard to what was preferable to your understanding, you must go based off your language. As we see the Northern use their interpretation, we have to use our interpretation, because everything that we receive based off our understanding of who we are, going all the way down to the biological immortality, it's interpreted either by our ancestors or their ancestors. All right, and we see most of the biological immortality in regard to immortality, which we perceive it on this plane, deals with the abstract of what we call infinity or the afterlife or the hereafter, etc., whatever term you choose to call it. All right. So the original meaning of Old English Jemet was the faculty of memory, not of thought in general. All right. So when you think, you can think of anything, but when you remember something from the past that preceded you. All right, because that's what you come in. You come in on the effect, and your obligation based off the effect that you substitute, and to find out the cause of the effect, and that takes memory. And memory represents, and time dominion means the past. All right, because you got the past, you got the present, and then you have the future. All right. Without the past, you have no future. Once again, without the past, you have no future. It says the original meaning of English was the faculty of memory, not thought of general. Hence, call to mind, come to mind, keep in mind, to have mind. The word retains a sense in Scotland. Old English has other words to express mind, such as hens, mind, or spirit. The meaning of memory is shared also with Old Norse, which is manure. The word is originally from pi, verbal root men, meaning to think, remember, whence also Latin mens, mind. Sanskrit means manners, mind. In Greek, mind, carrots, or anger. All right. So you have all these interpretations from the Greek, from the Northman, as well as from the English. So if you, one second. So if you are trying to discern what minds means, and you must understand it from the origin of where the interpretation of what the word mind means, because we know mind is spelled in English, and we know in English comes from Old English, and Old English comes from the what we call the I forgot the term they call it. Yeah, Middle English, Old English. Yeah, Old English, which is about the 10th century AD. Okay, so we know that mind means memory, and memory comes from remember. You have to remember what it is that the mind was created for. All right, that's the purpose of the mind was created for you to remember. All right, all right, and remember what? Based off ontology, remember it's based off you as a being. You as a being, ontology. In metaphysics, ontology is the philosophical study of being. It investigates what types of entities exist, how they are grouped into categories, and how they are related to one another on the most fundamental level. So you claim to be a part of a group, and you have different categories of different groups that you belong to. Not just in the animal kingdom, which we are classified in the animal kingdom as mammals, all right? And all mammals have somatic nervous systems, which we proved that, but as well as acting in that capacity as a part of that society. Because we know under the Naturalization Act, it wasn't based off no, as they say, categorized based off how you were created, all right? Your nationality, your genetics, all right? It wasn't based off that. It was based off a classification based off the color of skin, all right? They had a specific group that fit we assumed to be all humans, but there was a different type or a specific human that they were making reference to under the Naturalization Act. And they wasn't dealing with a nationality or ethnicity or genetics. Okay, so you must understand it in the abstract as well as the concrete, because even in the dealing with biology, it was still based off colony or categories. All right, so in that understanding, you have to find out what biological cellular category do you fit in, and reaching uh, uh, that epitome of what we call immortality, because that's a discussion. Biological immortality. Ontologists often try to determine what the categories or highest kinds or kinds and or how they form a system of categories that encompasses the classification of all entities. Okay, of all entities. You must understand that. If you claim to be a deity, then you must fall in that classification. All right, you must fall under that classification. All right, and that takes, in lieu of biological immortality, the species are able to achieve, you must know cell lineage. And we looked that up already, cell lineage. All right, so let's move forward. We know somatic cells, all mammals have them. Mammals, sometimes cells make up all the internal organs, skins, bones, blood, and connective tissue, while mammalian germ cells give rise to spermatozoa and ova, which fuse during fertilization to produce a cell called a zygote. So you see all mammals, and humans are concluded in that category as mammals. Once again, there you see it. Humans fall under the domain of eukaryotes. The kingdom is Animalia. Phylum is Chordata. The class is Mammalia. Order is Primate. Suborder is Haplorrhea. And you can pronounce those names on your own. I'm not going to go through it. All right. So this is the categories that humans fall under. All right. This is under taxonomy. Taxonomy, if I'm saying the word right. All right. You fit into the classification of mammals, okay? Of mammals. So if you have somatic cells, you also have somatic nervous system. And so somatic system works off what we call transduction, to be able to interpret the signals, the waves, the frequencies that you receive from your environment. Okay, this is what you should be doing as a human being or whatever species or entity you claim to be. All right, transduction. Again, in physiology, transduction is the translation of arriving stimulus into an action potential by a sensory receptor, So that deals with your, as I said, your somatic neurological system. All right, your nervous system. Your neurological system is your nervous system. It's very, 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 very important. All right. So going back into biological immortality. Biological immortality, as far as understood on the cellular level, it says here, biologists choose the word immortal to designate cells that are not subject to the Hayflick limit, the point at which cells can no longer divide due to DNA damage or shortening telomeres. Prior to Leonard's Hayflick theory, Alice Carey hypothesized that all normal somatic cells are immortal. Okay? All somatic cells are immortal. Why do you think that you are able to heal yourself? When you get cut, what happens? The skins rejuvenate. That's what we call immortality. All right. It's just a degree, as because we said biological immortality can be achieved, but you can also die as a result of wounds that will take you quicker to that immortality. All right, as we've seen. What did it say that is? A biological immortal living being can still die from means other than censusing, such as through injury, poison, disease, predation, lack of available resources, or change in the environment. Our environment is changing. All right. Lack of resources causes biological mortality. All right. Biological mortality, diseases, poisons, injuries. All this is happening all around the world right now. All right. Right now, this is happening. But these people are able to achieve biological immortality without these things happening. The reason why these things happen is the reason of there is no love. The frequency of love is not there. Okay? The only way you can achieve biological immortality is through the love frequency. That's very, 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 very important. All right? Let's move forward. We know biological immortality can be achieved through what we call mental uploading. And we know mental uploading is called mental transferring. Once again, just reiterating, immortality is a concept of indefinite eternal existence even after death. Some species possess biological immortality. We know biology deals with cells. We know that when you're dealing with the being able to understand through transduction of what we receive through the excitability of ourselves through what we call the somatic nervous system, right? And the somatic nervous system is hooked up to what we call the brain, right? The brain reacts off the somatic neurological system, which is interpreted through transduction, what we interpret through the sensory of our surface sensory, taste, touch, smell, sight, and whatever other sensory that we have through our environment. And then most of our environment is observed through what we call our eyes, okay? Which is we call visual light. We know visual light is one of the lights that exists on what we call the electromagnetic spectrum, which consists of what we call electromagnetic frequencies or waves, all right, that are able to travel through what we call the neurotransmitters, which are our receptors, i.e. our somatic neuron, what we call neurological system. We must understand that, not just on the mental level, but understanding on the mental level from a biological standpoint, okay? From a biological standpoint, because this is physics. Understand your makeup, all right? Ontology, understanding your being. Who are you? All right? Mind is power. You know, you got the 6 stones. You got the time stone, you got the space stone, you got the ether stone, you got the soul stone, you got the soul stone, and you got the power stone. 6 stones. All right, which denote to which are denote to the infinity stone, and they're originated from what we call singularity as a result of what we call the Big Bang. We have those qualities in us. All right, we have those qualities in us. We have the quality of power. We have the quality of mind. We got the quality of what it says. Let's go to them. Green is the what was it? Time stone. Purple is the power stone. Blue is the space stone. Yellow is the what was it? Yellow was the what was it? Mind stone. Red was the ether stone, and orange was the soul stone. All right, this is qualified. Space stone was blue. Mind stone was yellow. Reality stone was red, i.e. the ether. Power stone was purple. time stone was green, and the soul stone was orange, as I said. All right. This is all abstract understanding that we visually see with our eyes. All right. Our sensories, our what they call it, what's the term they said? Neurons, somatic nervous system. All right. Through our somatic nervous system. This is what we receive, and they were called through our sensory neurons, all right, our receptors. This is what we perceive these things to be, all right? We perceive these things, but they give it back to us in TV and not understanding what they really are, because we understand we all have souls, or some of us have soul. We all know we're subject to time. We all know what power is. Power is. We all know what a reality is, right? We all know what a mind is. We don't understand what space is, all right? Because space and time means something in a different conversation, in a different argument. You know what I'm saying? And in this case, we're dealing with God's creation. So in God's creation, you must understand physics. You must understand geometry. All right. You must understand space-time. All right. You must understand Albert Einstein's theory of special relativity as well as general relativity theory. It's all very, very, very important for making the next transition here, because it all involves moving to the fourth dimension from three dimensions to the same time continuum. All right, from past, present, and future. That's called achieving immortality or infinity by having knowledge of what these 6 stones represented. All right. All the other 5 stones can be used in what we call the fourth dimension, which is represented by the space stone. All right, by the space stone. And we know space-time, which involves the space stone and the time stone, is based upon move from 3-dimensional to 4th dimensional, because we know the tesseract represents the 4th dimension. We are in the 3rd dimension, subject to the same dominion time continuum. And time continuum is past, present, and future. All right, let's just read it for ourselves. You can understand it from the Infinity movie, or you can understand it from physics. In physics, space-time, i.e., the blue stone and with the space-time was the blue stone, the time stone was the orange, the green stone. Okay, so the blue stone and the green stone. In physics, space-time is a mathematical model that fuses the 3 dimensions of space, i.e., the blue stone, into 1 dimension of time, i.e., the green stone, into a single 4th dimensional continuum, i.e., what's called the space stone, the blue stone, because the blue stone was the tesseract, and the tesseract represents 4th dominion to the same time continuum. And we know time is past, present, future. We're in 3 dimension, which is the present, so we're moving on to the 4th dimension, which would be the tesseract. That's the reason why those in the movie Avengers didn't understand the properties of the object known as the tesseract. So they couldn't move to 4th dimension. All right, they could not make the shift. They didn't know what was going on. In order to make the shift, you have to know what's going on. All right, let's see. Back to the Infinity Stone. If you knew what's going on, then you'd be able to understand the red stone. And the red stone represents ether. They tried to disqualify the ether, but nothing will exist without ether, even the Big Bang. Okay, because the Big Bang is a result of a star gravitational pull collapsing. Okay, which creates or forms a planetary nebula, which becomes a star system of stars, because all the other objects or all the layers from that collapsed gravitational star has expanded, what you call the universe, which creates what we call space-time. And we know space-time is subject to gravitational singularity, space-time singularity, or just what they call singularity. As they say in the movie, you can get it either in the abstract or you can hear it here in the you can get it from them in the concrete that you're hearing now, or from me in the part cell. You get it from them in the abstract as I'm showing you now, or you can get it from the concrete as I'm showing you as well. All right. So the abstract is what they're showing you in the movies, and as told in this 2014 by the collector, who explains that the Infinity Stones are a remnant of 6 singularities that all deals with cosmogony, cosmological study of the universe. All right, that's called astrobiology, study of the stars. Okay, study of the stars uh, that exist before the Big Bang, which were compressed into 6 stones by cosmic entities after the universe began, and which were dispersed throughout the cosmos. All right. So we have to understand. We have to understand that we need to ask ourselves these questions at some point in time. Where did we come from? What is our ontology? What makes us who we are? All right. And your faculties cannot tell you that, because your faculties are subject to space-time. Your mind is not subject to space-time. It came through space-time to communicate with you about who you really are as etheric beings. All right? Whether you want to call yourself Ethiopians, when you want to call yourself Jews, when you want to call yourself Berbers, Moors, whatever name, term, metaphor you choose to call yourself. And I think English Anglo-Saxon Berbers is the best term you can use because of the potential you have here on this plane of things being manifested, going back to the plane that you originated from when time sees fit, when our ancestors see fit, to make the ability for us to transfer through time, i.e. space-time. All right? To travel through space-time. Let's get there. So we know Asgard, Asgard in the Northern mythology, and we know the Northern mythology deals with the Northmen. And we know in the Middle Ages, the Northmen invaded England. All right? The Northmen invaded England. All right. When you go to the Norsemen, you go into the history of the Merovingians and Carolingians. And the Carolingians and the Merovingians, due to previous teachings that I've shown you, claim that they never descended from God. All right. So if they never descended from God, we know God is synonymous with heaven, and we know Asgard is synonymous with what we call heaven adverse to what we call Midgard. Then we know Midgard is hell. Because look at the state Midgard is in right now. It's in the state of hell. All right. And that's a result of this belief that we choose to believe in. All right. In Nordic mythology, Asgard, enclosure of the Aesir, is a location associated with the gods. All right. It appears in multitudes of old Norse sagas and mythological texts. It is described as the fortified home of the Aesir gods, often associated with the gods of imagery, i.e., Odin, Thor, Loki, Baldur, and the rest of them. Okay? And the rest of the deities. All right? These deities in the abstract represent nothing more than what we call biological entities, cellular entities on the cellular level, which derives their biological immortality, right? Which is abstract because they can never achieve that. We've seen yesterday that the Bifrost was closed to Thor. Why? Because of the gatekeeper, Heimdall. Heimdall was a Berber. All right, he was an Ethiopian. He was an Etherean, and he had the ability to receive this light as a transmission medium for him to understand. That's why he was placed in that position. We all need to understand that. All right, we all need to understand that. One of the Norsemen's gods that the myth was created, or folklore, in the Middle Ages was known as Canute the Great. Let me just bring him up. Canute the Great, Old North, was Canute the Great. Canute was a king of England from 1016, king of Denmark from 1018, and king of Norway from 1028 until his death in 1035. The three kings united under Knute's rule and referred together as the North Sea Empire. So this is the time of Edward the Confessor, the son of King Ethelred the Unready, the son of Jesus Christ. This is in that time. How we know that? This is a picture of him on the new minister of the Liber Vitae. And you know, the new minister of the Liber Vitae is dealing with King Edward the Peaceful, dealing with new minister of Westchester. All right, new minister of the Liber Vitae. That's the book of life. Okay, this is the book of life. All right, so the book of life refers to those who's going to go to that heaven, i.e., Asgard. So you can have their interpretation of this, what the book of life say in regards to the afterlife, or i.e. heaven, i.e. time immortal, or whatever the term you choose to associate with it. I'm giving you the concrete because I'm showing you that that abstract story to us is actually concrete in reference to the kings of England, because these northern Vikings who came from that mythological or folklore story was ruling the kingdom of England at a particular time as a result of conquest. All right, into England. We must understand that. Canute the Great spouse was Emma Normandy. She was married to Ethelred the Unready as well. All right, and you see it right there. Norman-born noblewoman who became the English, Danish, and Norwegian queen through marriage to the Anglo-Saxon king Ethelred the Unready and the Danish king Canute the Great, a daughter of the Norman ruler Richard the Fearless. Okay, so all these goes back to our English stories. You got the northern stories and we got the English stories. So that's where we make our correlations, not just from a abstract, but to a concrete, because we can see there make that the northern invaders who invaded England, they take their story not just from mythology or folklore, but it goes, they take it all the way back to biology. They take it all the way back to biology. I'm gonna show you. All right. So if they can do it, we have to do it. You know, the Bifrost or the Bifrost was a bridge. You know, the bridge is symbolic of a rainbow. I mean, the rainbow in physics or science is deals what they call the electromagnetic spectrum. All right, the electromagnetic spectrum of frequencies, waves, and signals from gamma rays to radio waves. Right, from gamma rays to radio waves, which is nothing more than frequencies originating from the sun. Do transduction, which means to interpret or being able to interpret those signals. All right. You can't interpret it through your visual light because these are supposed to be interpreted through mental waves as a result of what we call mental light, the light of the mind. All right. It's the mind's faculty that give you ability to make sense of what's going on through your nervous system, through your somatic cells. And we know somatic cells deal with all tissue, all organs, bones, etc. We already discussed that. So it says in Norse mythology, Bifrost is the burning rainbow bridge that reaches between Midgard and Asgard, the rim of the god. You hear that? The bridge, the burning bridge. We know ether means to burn or to shine. To illuminate means luminous. All right, that's what ether means. That's what you are, etheric beings, but you have to burn, you have to shine. All right, you burn and shine through rejuvenation, through RNA of the mitochondrial DNA that originated from the nuclear DNA, that originated from the stars, okay? Your nuclear DNA, you have to remember that on a biological level. Let's get there. Asgard, first let's go to biology. And I'm coming to my closing. So once the computers are cut off. As we can see, there are generally two types of cells: eukaryotic cells that contain a nucleus and prokaryotic cells which do not. All right. Extraterrestrial life. Extraterrestrial life or alien life is life which does not originate from Earth. All right. No extraterrestrial life has yet been conclusively detected, such as life might range from simple forms such as a prokaryotes to intelligent beings, possibly bringing forth civilization that might be far more advanced than humanity. You hear that? You know, the first type of life form on this planet was prokaryotes, which consists of archaea and bacteria. Archaea and bacteria. Let's go back to biology. Right here. They didn't say extraterrestrials were eukaryotic cells. They said extraterrestrials were prokaryotic cells. And prokaryotic cells does not have a nucleus. Eukaryotic cells have a nucleus which contains the DNA, i.e. mitochondrial DNA, i.e. the genome, i.e. the genetic material for you to move from unicellular to multicellular, which eukaryotic cells are. All right? It says life on Earth, which emerged more than 3.7 billion years ago, is immensely diverse. Biologists have sought to study the classify the various forms of life, from prokaryotic organisms such as archaea and bacteria to eukaryotic organisms such as protists, fungi, plants, and animals. Y'all better listen to me. Y'all better listen. Life on Earth, which emerged more than 3.7 billion years ago, is immensely diverse. Now, biologists, we're studying biology, we're talking biology, have sought to study the study and classify, categorize, put into colonies the various forms of life, i.e. entities, i.e. life forms, from prokaryotic, which we know are extraterrestrial, all right? They are extraterrestrial organisms such as archaea and bacteria. Archaea and bacteria are extraterrestrial life forms, all right? Down to or what they call eukaryotic organisms such as protists, fungi, plants, and animals. These various organisms contribute to the biodiversity of the ecosystem, which they play specialized roles in cycling nutrients and energy through their biophysical environment. Did y'all hear that? So we know that prokaryotic cells are extraterrestrial and eukaryotic cells came from prokaryotic cells because prokaryotic cells gave the eukaryotic cells the ability to be able to become multicellular, be able to divide, to what they call mutate. All right, to mutate, we must understand that. So the first two types of life forms on the planet Earth, which are we say extraterrestrial, is archaea and bacteria. Once again, archaea and bacteria. So let's go to the extraterrestrial life form on a biological level to understand this. Domain, archaea. Kingdom, prokaryotic. Superphylum, Asgard. Asgard. Asgard or Asgardarchaeota is a proposed superphylum consisting of a group of archaea that contain eukaryotic signature proteins. It appears that the eukaryotes it appears that the eukaryotes, the domains that contain the animal, plant, and fungi, emerge within Asgard and branch containing Heimdallarchaeota. These supports the two-domain system of classification of the three-domain system. The three-domain system now includes eukaryotes. The two-domain system only included archaea and what they call bacteria, all right, which will all emerge from Asgard, because it said emerge within Asgard. What does emerge from Asgard? This is called eukaryogenesis. Eukaryogenesis, the process which creates eukaryotic cells and lineage, i.e., cell lineage, is a milestone in the evolution of life. Since eukaryotes include eukaryotes include all complex cells and almost all multicellular organisms. This process is widely agreed to have involved symbiogenesis, in which archaea and bacteria came together to create the first eukaryotic common ancestor. This cell has a new level of complexity and capability with a nucleus, at least one centriole and cilium facultatively aerobatic mitochondria, aerobic mitochondria, sex meiosis, and signaling. A dormant cyst with a cell wall of chitin and a cellular and preoxysomes, however you pronounce that. But we see that eukaryogenesis has to do with the first two bacteria known as what would they say, archaea and bacteria. All right. So let's take a look at these types of cells, archaea and bacteria, which has no nucleus. All right. They're unicellular. Also, they are considered to be extraterrestrial, i.e., intelligent life form within the cell. Once again, intelligent life form within the cell, which we are intelligent life form because we are composed of cells. These are called sapiens, conscious beings on the cellular level. Okay, here we have it. Our Asgard and the Asgard entity on the biological level. All right, Jorda, Odin, Baldur, Loki, Helsman, Thor, Hermos, Sifar, Wukan. These are all names for northern gods, northern deities. Let's look at it. As you can see, basic comparison of deities. Frigg, Sea, Honir, Nera, Thor, Baldur, Thor, Nerthus, Frey, Baldur, Hel, Nimir, Teal, Phil, Hammond, Era, and Olar. All right, let's go back to the list again. Jordan, Odin, Badar, Loki, Hela, Thor, Hermos, Sifar, Wukan, and there's many more. There's many more. Here we go. Najur, Gerda, Hemsdale. All right. That's what they call what's the name? Aegis Elvis. All right. They all gave birth to what we call eukaryotes, i.e., cells being able to become multicellular through what they call cell division by learning the culture of the cell, by learning the culture of the cell. Immortality, once again, is a concept of an indefinite eternal existence even after death. Some species possess biological immortality. Dotem did not have the ability to possess biological immortality. Why? Because they lack the understanding of the tesseract. They lack the understanding of the tesseract, and the tesseract involves understanding space and time. Space and time, because we know space was represented by the blue stone, and the blue stone was placed inside the tesseract. Y'all don't hear me. The blue stone was placed inside the tesseract. We know the tesseract represents fourth dimension, and space and time represents three dimensions through what we call space-time singularity, gravitational singularity, and we know gravitational singularity deals with what we call black holes, wormholes. All right, vacuum. It says in physics, space-time is a mathematical model that fuses three dimensions, which we are in now, into one dimension of time, i.e., past, present, on into the future, into a single fourth-dimensional continuum. All right? What is fourth dimension? In my closing, the 4D equivalent of a cube is known as a tesseract. Not a box, a cube. All right? And look at the transitions of the tesseract. This is symbolic of the Latin cross, okay, which crucified Jesus. Crucifix means crucifix at a fixed point in time. Let me get a better example. Tesseract. Remember, zero dimensional, one dimensional, two dimensional, three dimensional to fourth dimensional. We're yet to go there or be there. But we will under the special theory of relativity. All right? We have to understand special theory of relativity to be able to make that shift. Tesseract. This is how we came into being, y'all. Where's the other diagram? Right. That's the Big Bang. Boom! All right. Big Bang. Boom! Explosion. Phantom universe. Becomes space and time. Becomes three-dimensional to fourth dimensional on the same time continuum, where body and mass cannot go. All right? Where body and mass cannot go. This is what happened to the Asgardians. And I close out on that video. If it's still up there. I don't think I have it up here. No, I think I erased it. Okay, so in closing, it's very important to understand that what we perceive through our what we call somatic neurons, what they call it, what would they use, what the term they use? They said what we perceive through our, I'm gonna just use the term surface sensory, our perceptions, our neuron sensory, the brain has to make sense of it. And we know that the brain itself uh, can only interpret through the signals that it receives based off the somatic nervous system. You know, the somatic system gives the mind the ability to be able to do transduction, to interpret what's being signaled to the mind through its signals through what they call somatic nervous system. We know that our cellular level is key to understanding our shift from three-dimensional to fourth-dimensional by understanding mentally on a cellular level. You know what I'm saying? Because your mind alters your reality. Once again, your mind alters your reality. We know reality is what one perceives things to be. So even though I'm here in three dimension, I see fourth dimension for the future. And my cells will what they call, because all matter is entombed by what they call baryon acoustic oscillation, which means fine tuning or synthesizing yourself. If you don't practice something, then you never become perfect. You know what I'm saying? You can do when a person practices guitar or practice drums. You know, when you first start out, you trying to keep up with, you know, making sure you actually hit the object that you're trying to make the sound till you become where you ain't got to no longer look at it. Same with any profession, anything. You know what I'm saying? Practice makes perfect. We have to perfect ourselves in order to make the shift. And perfection comes through mental evaluation. Mental evaluation. You know what I'm saying? And your mind is not attached to your body. Your body works off the brain. So if the body works off what the brain tells you, and the brain is influenced by the mind, then the question becomes, what body does the mind have? That's the question that you all should be asking yourself. And with that, I'll say peace.